The SAVE Act is a simple BS pitch, protect elections. Republicans want you to believe it's just about verifying your citizenship or preventing election fraud. But when you look at the fine print, that's not the case. This is about making it harder for Americans to register to vote, full stop. None of this is happening in isolation. You all know, you've been listening for a while. If you've been paying attention, you can see the pattern that's playing out before our eyes. Gerrymander, strict voter ID laws, gutting the ability to vote by mail, and weakening the Voting Rights Act all point in the same direction. They, and specifically the SAVE Act, follows the exact same script. This is drawing the line. Let's jump in. Marina, what do you think about the SAVE Act? Pro or against?
Against.
Oh.
Shocker. The SAVE Act is, as you said, it's all bullshit. It's a veiled attempt to, not even well veiled, like a very thinly veiled attempt.
They kind of stopped veiling. You know, they stopped veiling somewhere along the way. I could have used a good veil. Veiling. I like the one they used to pretend to us.
The good old days when the Republicans veiled things.
No more veils. Could use a veil.
No, I mean, it is so patently obvious that they are trying to shape the electorate into like the most minimal amount of people that will support them and nobody else. That is what they want. They just want to scare people away from exercising their right to vote. They want to keep people away from the polls. They're making it harder. They don't want people to be able to use drop boxes. They don't want, you to be able to mail in your vote. They don't want you to come to vote if you don't look like a person or maybe like have the demographics of a person that they think is going to support them. That is what's happening. It's just so transparent.
Look, they can't win this election. It's so crazy. They're saying things like, we have to pass the SAVE Act so that we can hold on to the House, so that we can hold on to the Senate. This is a party, full disclosure, like they won all chambers. They currently control the entire government. Every lever of power in the government that's elected is controlled by Republicans right now. And they're saying, even though not a year ago, we went ahead and won all these elections, we can't do it without changing the rules. Like, we need to change the rules now so that we can win elections. It's obviously because they continually have come up short. And I think their polling's in the lowest numbers we've seen it yet because all their policies are terrible. Yeah. And like, when you look at the changing of the rules and the ability to just try and create some kind of minimalist electorate, and you're just trying to like really shrink down the people that get to vote or allowed to vote. Think about just last year, Donald Trump said, this is like a crazy number, so just bear with me. It even feels crazy for me to say, let alone the fact that the president of the United States said that if they gerrymander as much as they can and they cut vote by mail, they will win 100 more congressional seats than they currently have. Which again is just kind of like insane to say out loud. But that is a thing that he said believed, I don't know. And that's a world in which we're living right now. So that's why they are putting so much pressure on the SAVE Act. That's why they're putting like their most, villainous caricatures of the Republican Party, like Mike Lee, out there to like go out and talk about the SAVE Act and say, look, this is the thing we absolutely have to do because we need to reshape our electorate.
And for those of you who have not been following this super closely, the SAVE Act is a Republican-backed bill that would require all Americans to provide documentary proof of citizenship, like a passport or a birth certificate to register to vote. They hide behind this reasonable sounding policy, right? Like, oh, like you're a citizen, like show that you're a citizen. Okay. But actually a real ID, which like we all just switched to, which are, the more secure driver's license or state ID that you
right.
Like
if you could get on a plane, you needed
right, to exactly. Like all of the things that require ID, like that's not even going to be good enough. And if you're a person like me, who I changed my name when I got married, and my birth certificate does not match my driver's license, and so that's a problem. And so it's like, how many women specifically across the country would have this problem? And then just how like burdensome it is Americans don't have passports. Like, it's just this idea that, they just like sit in their, you know, gilded the like gilded room around Trump, and like they're like, oh, this is all fine. Like, it is not reasonable. It is burdensome, and they are doing it, in fact, because they know it is burdensome. So it's like two things are true at the same time. One, that they're pretending that this is super easy, and it's not super easy for most Americans. And two, they actually don't care and are just trying to keep people from voting that they don't think are going to support them. That's it. Both of those things are true.
It is a very JD Vance of them path, where you find some kind of minimal tiny statistic and make that the villain for this major overhaul, right? Like, he keeps talking about illegal immigrants trying to vote. And it's like, you look at the numbers and it's like, there's like 3 that tried to vote before and they got prosecuted and caught. And it's like, no, because those 3 tried to vote in this country, we need to change the entire election system. It's like, it's already illegal for a non-citizen to vote.
Right, exactly. Like,
it's
there's
already
no
illegal
problem
for a
being
non-citizen to
solved.
vote.
There is no problem being solved. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
They find fake problems. It's like, it's such a classic current Republican thing where they're like, they go to the floor of the Senate and they're like, we need to pass a bill to stop murder. And you're like, yeah, that's already illegal. They're like, there are people that do murders and we're going to stop it. And it's like, it's already illegal. It's already illegal. Like, what do we need to do to show you that, like, we've already passed laws? But then they just keep saying it. And then they try and convince people that this is what needs to be done in order to save the country. It's like, it's not real.
No. And it goes back to this whole idea that they, like, obviously we care a lot about having good information, good data about the people in our communities and what's happening. And the attack, just to sort of tie this back to this bigger picture of what this administration has been doing in terms of attacking data. Like, there is actually decades of data, to your point, statistics saying this is not a problem. This is not a problem that needs like a massive bill to come from Congress. This isn't a problem. We have so many problems in this country. There's so many things that do need solutions. There's so many issues that we need to be tackling that are very, very serious issues for people across this country. I mean, the economy, but the fact that we're, at war apparently, or not, or I don't know, we'll see.
Oh, we are.
I mean, we are, but they can't decide what they want to say about it because they're so insane. And there's so many pressing issues for American families, right? Like, it's like they're go down the list and pick the number of things that we could be talking about instead of, to your point, like trying to make something illegal that is already illegal.
Yeah, but this is why they have to change the rules, because like if they actually passed something that would help the vast majority of American people, like drive down drug costs or trying to create an environment where groceries cost less, it would hurt corporations. And then all of their donations would dry up and they can't do that. So it can't be passing bills that will actually help people. What do? We better cheat to win.
Better do it. Well, let's be clear. Okay. So we don't actually think that the SAVE Act is going to be successful in the Senate. Earlier this week, the Senate voted 51-48 to open debate. And so it's not likely to pass the Senate right now, but we have to stay vigilant because Trump has said he's not going to touch anything unless he gets the SAVE Act on his desk. And so, he is trying to lay down this gauntlet of how important it is to him, exactly because he knows that he will lose his power. He will, that there will be a check on his administration if they don't win the House. Ultimately, this is all about how much power he thinks he has. And so he has laid down that, that marker to say, I'm not going to do anything unless this passes. And so while we don't think that it's going to pass the Senate, because they would have to touch the filibuster, and it doesn't seem like Senate Republicans are interested in doing that, we're going to watch very closely. And it's really, really important for the public pressure to keep up on Congress to make sure that this does not move.
Yeah. And we've already seen some people waver, like, and it's all politically based. John Cornyn in Texas is wavering, who's currently in a runoff election against Ken Paxton. And the president has been consistent that he is going to, he's been consistent now since the primary that he's going to endorse one of the two of them. And he is facing a lot of backlash because I think Ken Paxton is much more aligned with most of his MAGA philosophies.
Right.
And John Cornyn has been a bit more moderate, although he hasn't really, but he may be seen that way. And so the president feels seemingly he has to pick one of the two.
Yeah.
And so you got people like John Cornyn, who traditionally would never want to probably touch the filibuster, or he hasn't historically, now saying he's more interested in trying to figure out a path forward because he wants Trump's endorsement. Speaking of Trump's endorsements, like we still, I don't know that we've talked about the fact we just got through a North Carolina primary.
Oh,
and
yeah.
In said primary, we have talked on this pod before about they redrew the North Carolina maps. You might remember Senate President Phil Berger. There was a lot of press around Berger because it was reported that he was taking or trading in some capacity a Trump endorsement in his election for redrawing the maps, because most of the folks didn't want to redraw the maps, but he clearly decided as Senate president he was going to push for it. And that was probably because he wanted Trump's endorsement. He got it. And then he lost in a primary. Wild.
Too bad. So sad.
Yeah. That's all the things you get for doing the evil deeds.
Yeah. Turns out karma. Karma's a bitch. Love to see it.
Karma's a bitch with the hand under the chin is the clip of the day.
Just makes my day. My dose of Schadenfreude for the day.
Keep it in.
Okay. All right. We'll keep you posted on what happens with the SAVE Act. Certainly keeping a very close eye on that. All right. There's also just still a lot moving ahead of 2026 in a number of states. And the states that we are watching very closely are Virginia and Florida, where we know next month there will be an upcoming election in Virginia. Early voting has already begun. The election is on April 21st for the ballot initiative to pass a map in Virginia to fight back against the administration's gerrymandering crisis. And Virginians are already able to vote.
If you live in Virginia, go to virginiansforfairelections.com or go to iwillvote.com. That will show you where you need to go in order to vote. That will give you a clear lane and a path how you can vote. Make sure that you use this current moment to get out and vote. Again, I know I say it all the time, make a plan. If you're a person that likes to vote on election day, that's cool. If you like to vote before election day, also cool. Just make sure you go to iwillvote.com. You look up exactly where your election location is. You know where to go. You know how to do it. If you're going to vote on election day, make a plan. You're going to vote in the morning. You're going to vote before you drop your kids off for school. You're going to vote after. Figure out exactly when you're going to vote. It's like continually proven time and time again that if you have a plan, you are like 1 billion statistically percent chance higher likely to vote. So please do make sure that you're ready, prepared, and you know when you're going to vote. Let's do it.
And we're voting yes.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Marina. We are pro voting yes.
We are pro fighting back. Okay, great. Well, that's super, super exciting. And again, it's just about a month away, which is crazy. But again, this is a great long early voting period. So, there are no excuses, people. You can do it. Make a plan and get out there. Tell your mom, tell your friends, bring your family, make sure everybody's getting out and then we have a great turnout. So that's Virginia. The other state that we are tracking very closely is Florida. So far, still, we are waiting on a special session that will come in April. There's some rumor mill happening
in Florida. We're waiting to see if they do decide they're going to use the special session in April, which I think DeSantis called for April 20th to 24th to redistrict. He was very clear in his mandate. That's what he was using it for. They may take longer. They don't seem like they're in a rush. Senate and the House don't entirely seem like they're on the same page with about anything. So I don't really know what they're thinking on redistricting, but we do anticipate still everyone seems keen to gerrymander that state into oblivion. So we will be monitoring, watching, trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do. We've said it a billion times, but I don't know how they're going to do it. They have that is an extremely gerrymandered state right now, and they have said they're going to try and take 5 to 6 seats for Republicans in that state. They've said that when there is a clear court constitutional amendment that says they cannot partisan gerrymander, they have, I don't even know. Well, we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. We're seeing elections left and right in Florida that show you that the tide's turning, and places like the Miami mayoral race, the Boca mayoral race. If they're really going to try and steal all these seats, they got a big task in front of them, and we're going to stand in the way.
All right. And of course, the other sort of outstanding big piece, it remains the decision out of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court is going to be deciding a case called Calais v. Louisiana, or Louisiana v. Calais. I kind of forget where we are here. But that case is going to be incredibly important, a hugely consequential decision about the Voting Rights Act. Today was a decision day from the court. We did not get the case. We did not get the decision today, but we'll keep y'all posted and make sure we have an update as soon as we know something. You all will know something. We promise. And that takes me to, I think, one last sort of piece I wanted to run through was, there's still a lot of moving pieces in terms of the fight back against what this administration started, what Trump started when he stood on the South Lawn of the White House last summer and said, easy peasy, we're just going to do a simple redraw in Texas, 5 more seats, I get to keep the House. And in Missouri in particular, there has been a lot happening. And the developments are on sort of 2 fronts. There's sort of a series of their set of cases that are fighting the map itself. So one, just on the basis that it's unconstitutional under the Missouri Constitution to even have drawn a map mid-decade. But 2, also that the map itself is a problem and that it does not comply with the standards under Missouri state law. So those sort of like specific challenges to the map itself and the fact that they drew it. And then on the other hand, we're still seeing and still very much pushing forward a fight to get the map pulled and basically to stop the map in place. And that is an effort that is going to be a citizen referendum, which would go to the ballot in November, and the voters of Missouri would be able to say, we don't want this new map. Now, one sort of dynamic here is that by November, certainly they will be voting on that new map. But in Missouri, there is a state law that says, actually, if you get enough signatures for this kind of citizen referendum, it is supposed to stop the new law from taking place. And the map is a law. It is passed into law. And so there's litigation over the fact that the state just refused to follow this state law and stop the new map from going into place because they did get enough signatures. And so that's a really, really important piece that, we don't want folks to lose sight of. It's, there's a lot happening in Missouri. It seems very complicated, but we will keep you all up to date as soon as there are new updates. But just reminder to folks, there's still a lot of work happening and a lot of fight happening in Missouri to beat back the new gerrymander that they passed last fall.
There's like 20 cases. It's like, I mean, there's just a lot of different cases to track. I mean, that's what happens when you do things that are brazenly breaking the law. People file lawsuits against.
I mean, and that is the thing that is like so insane. Like there is a very clear and straightforward law in Missouri that says,
this is the crazy part.
Legislature passes a law, and the people get to say, you know what, actually, like, we don't want that law in place. So let's organize, and we'll get enough voters in the state of Missouri to sign a petition to say, we don't like that law. This is the law. This is the rules. The rules in Missouri is if you get enough people to sign the petition, that new law doesn't go into effect. That is the law. The state of Missouri has simply decided to not follow their own state law. Like the people who are empowered to run the state have just said, screw you all. We're just not going to follow that because we got to do Trump's bidding. Like, that is what has happened. Sometimes I forget this and then I remember and I get so mad again. You're like, this is so insane. Like, this alone should be like the biggest piece of the redistricting story, because it is such a terrible example of this administration and Republicans across the country who are falling in line, just deciding that they don't think they have to follow the law. They don't think it applies to them. The rules that apply to everybody else in the country, everybody else in their state, they're just deciding for themselves that those rules don't apply to them because they don't like the outcome that would happen if they had to follow the rules. It's so horrible.
Yeah, it starts at the top. We
Rant.
I mean, we are a country of 250 years of law, right? That has been built on top of each other to make sure that this country is able to function at its best. And Donald Trump, as soon as he entered office, was totally found all of that history irrelevant. You know, he just decided that I'm going to do what I'm going to do, regardless of what the laws say.
Yeah.
Missouri's following suit.
And all the people around him who are just like, you know.
That's why there's 20 cases.
Right.
That's why everybody's filing.
Right. I mean, this is the thing that's like so insane. Like, you know, there's, you know, especially the criticism that Republicans try to throw at Democrats, which is like, oh, it's just like a sue to blue strategy. It's like, no, it's a stop fucking breaking the law strategy. Like that. Yeah. Like, it's just like, if you weren't breaking the law, we wouldn't have to sue you.
It's like if you were like robbing stores consistently, and then every time you got caught, you were like, oh, they're just going to lock me up every time I rob somebody. Okay. Oh, they're just going to arrest me because I robbed everybody again. Like, that's what keeps happening. And then they just keep saying, you know, Democrats are just trying to, you know, arrest us for robbing.
God forbid we try to enforce laws that have been passed. Oh, all right. Well, there's still, you know, a lot of other stuff happening. There's continued ongoing litigation in Utah. In Texas, the litigation over the map is moving to the Supreme Court. Those are now on trajectories for 2028. But the 2028 efforts are already happening and already starting. So we'll get more into those next time. But thank you all for sticking with us. We've got a lot more to talk about, and we'll be with you again soon. If you like our show, please follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Dem Redistrict, or you can visit our website, democraticredistricting.com. And again, go to virginiansforfairelections.com to get involved in Virginia. And we'll see you soon.
This show is produced by Reed Dudley, Sophia Pedroso, and Manuel Marce. Special thanks to Alex Yang. Editing and mixing by Play Pretend Media. This podcast is paid for by the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.